proud of what we're doing, and I'm looking forward to the next 3 years. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Tracy Martin.
Mr. Speaker, e te taha o takamātua ko Bolton, rawa ko Burton, Berman, aku waka. E te taha o takawhaia ko takatimu te waka o tāna whānau whāngai. Ko te whanganui a tara te moanga. Ko Wainangaro te awa, ko Waimarama te marae, ko Topunga te whare, ko Ngāti Kahanganu ke Heretonga te iwi, ko Ngāti Whakaiti rawa, ko Ngāti Kautiri ngā hapu. Ko Takatimu te tangata, ko Mohi te whānau, ko Anne Williams, rawa ko Burnett Martin, aku mātua, ko Tracy Ann Martin, taku ingoa. He meti atu ki nei atua e hāngai no me kāko. He mihi atu ki te whaia o te ao, ko papatua nuku e tōku tō ana ke waho. He mihi atu ki tēnei whare. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. E tu ana ahau, kei raro e te korowai o tātou tupuna. Mr. Speaker, firstly, can I congratulate you on your reappointment to the Speaker's chair and to take this moment to acknowledge this House, to recognise its importance, a whare where vital decisions are held and binding decisions are made, but to also recognise that those gathered within it are no more important than the people who placed us here, that all of us collectively are here to represent the people of New Zealand. A moment to pause and to thank the hundreds of thousands of New Zealanders who, through their votes, requested that New Zealand First once again stand in this House and speak on their behalf. A moment to thank the thousands of party members who never gave up, who provided, in the final days of our election campaign, the volunteer assistance that was forthcoming from every corner of the nation. My thanks go to those who gathered in February 2009 and made the commitment to keep New Zealand First alive and viable. Their efforts since that time have been unsung and unpaid, and we owe them a debt of great thanks. And a moment to acknowledge the leadership of our rangatira, the Right Honourable Winston Peters, whose spirit and commitment to the principles of New Zealand First have led us out of the wilderness and back into Parliament. And a moment to personally acknowledge the support of my family, friends and community, from those on PTAs and school boards, to Kapahaka, to Whanua Mahurangi, and my respected colleagues and staff from the Rodney Local Board of Auckland Council. Mr. Speaker, as a sixth-generation New Zealander, my Pākehā ancestors arrived on the Bolton and the Berman in 1840 and 1842 respectively. You could say that I am returning to my roots, with the Tonks family having built and operated one of the first brick factories, flour mills, tram tracks and blacksmith shops in Pōneke, now known as Wellington. Not far from where we sit is the newly restored Tonks Grove. Cottages originally built by William Tonks for his employees. Even then, we believed in good quality, affordable housing. My maternal grandfather and his second wife, Maud Mohi, have provided me with the gift of blood ties to Ngāti Kahungunu, of Tōpunga Marae at Waimarama in the Heretonga. My brother-in-law and nieces and nephew proudly connect me to the New Zealand Chinese community, a community whose historical contribution to the building of our nation is underrepresented on the pages of our history book. As a wood dragon baby of 1964, beginning my term in Parliament in a water dragon year augurs well. I like to think that in this sink or swim environment, this combination gives me a floating edge. Jishang Ro'i, Gunshi Bachai. Birthplaces of my mother and husband connect me to the mainland of New Zealand, and through another brother-in-law, our links stretch out into the Cook Islands. Ki ora ana tātou katoto I tiara. Like many New Zealanders, our family has a proud history of giving service to this nation. with specific mentions of my late grandfather's, Lieutenant Kenneth Martin, and his pivotal role at the Featherston Prisoner of War Camp during World War II, both before, during and after the Featherston riot, and Warrant Officer James Williams, who saw service in the Egyptian desert and Italy as a New Zealand engineer with the 2nd New Zealand Division. But, Mr. Speaker, while I acknowledge being a beneficiary of others' efforts and struggles, for me it has been the actions of strong, determined women that cleared the path down which I walk. Women from New Zealand's past, such as Kate Shepherd and Fran Collette of the Press Gallery. Strong, determined women from my family's past, Martha Anson, Mariah Swaddle, Mary Martin, Beverly Williams and Maud Mohi. The last few metres of this particular path have been carved by Anne Martin, continuing that line of woman with character, strength and quiet wisdom. A woman to whom both myself and New Zealand First owe a great debt. Neither of us would be here without her, and we continue to value her commitment, contribution and support. However, while recognising those that made this journey possible, it would be remiss if I did not acknowledge 2 men, at least, who are in very different ways also instrumental. Firstly, my late father. My father held very strong views on many topics, and, not unlike his daughter, he expressed them often. But he also instilled a sense of personal truth and loyalty along with a resilience of character. Secondly, my husband. It takes a very brave man to live with a very strong woman. As I have explained often in recent days, I am merely part of a team, at home as well as here in Parliament, and there is no one's opinion I trust or value more than my husband's. I like to think it was good planning and exceptionally good taste that landed me such a man, but whatever it was, I'm extremely grateful. To my children, each committee I joined while supporting your growth and education built on my abilities and helped me gain the confidence required to live by the motto of Mahurangi College, Mahuhu ki te rangi, reach for the heavens. From the play centre and kindergarten committees, Warkworth School PTA and Board of Trustees, Mahurangi College Board of Trustees, to Kapahaka and Te Whanua Mahurangi, all gave me the courage to put my hand up for a bigger stage. So thank you, my children, for having the good grace to let your mum be all those things without being so embarrassed you asked her to stop. Mr. Speaker, for the first 15 of the last 17 years, I have been a stay-at-home mother. It was not until my election to the Rodney Local Board of Auckland Council that I re-entered the paid workforce proper since leaving credit control to raise our family. But those who know me are aware that very little of this time was spent watching Oprah or attending coffee mornings. These are somewhat of an urban myth to the woman I have had the great pleasure to work alongside. To those women, the women who are the backbone of our communities, who do for their communities as they do for their families, while many of them also holding down part-time or full-time employment. Please know that you continue to amaze and inspire me. So when a reporter asks me how I am going to manage my workload with family and housework, I shake my head in disbelief and a small amount of amusement because, ladies, it would appear that they still have no idea what we do on a daily basis. It puts me in mind of the movie Made in Dagenham. The central character, Rita O'Grady, is asked by a member of the press, "How will you cope?" "Cope?" she responds. "We're women. Now stop asking such stupid questions." So to the real question of the moment. What does a wife, mother, credit controller, community worker, volunteer, member of the National Council of Women, local government official and list member of Parliament sitting on the opposition benches do? Well, here is a definition that I believe sums it up. The opposition, which consists of all parties not in government, has the role of holding the government to account. The opposition usually opposes the government's policies, questions its actions, draws attention to issues, promotes alternative policies and debates proposed legislation. The opposition is responsible for challenging the policies of the government. So that is my job, to challenge, question, draw attention to issues, debate and propose alternatives. Sometimes that might mean a challenge to individual members, such as the elected members for Helensville and Northland. It might be a challenge to work with those communities and elected local government representatives to address the high social deprivation scores of 7 and 8 in those electorates, to implement solutions to the lack of alternative education, access to tertiary or trade education, and high youth unemployment these communities suffer. To help those business communities push forward and gain recognition as satellite and regeneration towns so they can encourage greater economic development and through that employment. Or it might be to challenge the elected member for Rodney to remember his verbalised support for the projects of Penlink and the Puhoi to Wellsford Highway with full retention of access at Puhoi. To remember Northern Rodney and that it was a national-led government that took them into the amalgamation of Auckland with relatively no consultation. To recognise with the intended economies of scale that are being pursued with some vigour that these communities and businesses find themselves being starved of tender opportunities and economic development incentives. These communities and businesses are under stress. They require that member's attention and his commitment to truly understand and assist in the solutions to these issues. Or it may be to challenge this Parliament to recognise that we have done it all before. We have seen asset sales, we have seen a youth wage, we have seen a test-driven education system. Look back. Many in this House were here the last time these were tried. They did not work then and they will not work now. The challenge is to have greater vision and work to a 100-year view rather than knee-jerk reactions. I draw the attention of the House to the message of Corinthians 13 verse 11. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put childish things behind me. These are not the times for political games. These are not the times to allow our egos to get in the way of positive solutions that will benefit our people. These are not the times to say, I won't work with that person or this person because we don't like their personal style. These are the times to act like grown-ups and put away childish things because we have all been placed here to represent our people, the citizens of New Zealand. Not the citizens of Europe or Australia or China or America or any other country that comes a-knocking. Our job is to represent New Zealanders first, to get the best deal for New Zealanders first, to put the interests and well-being of New Zealanders first. But as I close, Mr. Speaker, I also challenge myself. There is another saying that goes, if you have not done enough to be criticised, then you have not done enough. My personal challenge is that by the time I leave this House, I hope to be highly criticised. A pe te hono, tā te hono. Te hunga mate, ki te hunga mate. Te hunga ora, ki te hunga ora. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou, katoa.
Honourable members, before I call the next member, I feel I've been remiss twice. I should have made clear to any viewers and listeners that we are embarking on a set of maiden speeches and they're of some real significance. And secondly, I apologise to the member having just completed her speech that neither did I ring the 5-minute bell, which I will do to let members know that when they hear the bell they've got another 5 minutes. It's not they should finish then, but I congratulate Tracy Martin that she did not go over time at all, despite my having failed to ring the bell. Andrew Williams.
Mr. Speaker,